Now call Jenni Minto to be followed by Donald Cameron. Up to 6 minutes, please, Ms Minto.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. As the MSP with probably the highest number of ferry routes in my constituency and someone who lives on an island, I understand the shortcomings of the service only too well and therefore have a bigger stake in its improvements than most sitting in this chamber. The Minister's apology is very much appreciated. Since May last year, there have been some quick wins. Camper vans must book, school minibuses get reduced fares and the Calmac Communities Board have wider responsibilities. Now, these may seem small to those of you who don't live on islands, but they have made a difference. As others have said, the Scottish Government has committed £580 million to fund new ferries and port investments over the next 5 years. As part of that, on Monday, I travelled just 2 miles from here to Leith Docks, where the MV Utney is currently being transformed into the MV Loch Frisa to serve the island of Mull. And to respond to Mr Kerr's intervention, the capacity on the Coruscant was 40 cars, the Utney is 34. Passenger numbers are down, so yes, there is a reduction. However, this ferry is going to ply the route year-round, a request that the island made 5 years ago, which is now coming into fruition. So from my perspective, I think that's a good result. As I said, this will provide a welcome addition to that route, as well as releasing the Coruscant to other routes, as the Minister has said. In addition, and this has been talked about as well, there will be 2 new ferries for Islay. Seamal announced the preferred bidder for this contract earlier this month. The new vessels will bring an almost 40% increase in vehicle and freight capacity on the Islay route, a reduction in emissions and improve the resilience of the wider fleet. The first vessel is expected to be delivered in October 2024 and will enter service following sea trials and crew familiarisation. The second vessel will follow in early 2025. And there are further projects as well. The small vessel replacement programme, new vessels for the Dunoon-Gourock-Kilcreggan Triangle and other services with the Mull consultation in early stages. However, it will come as no surprise that ferries top my email and are also top of people's agendas in my constituency visits. Importantly, I have many constituents who have ideas as to how the service could be improved and welcome the forthcoming publication of Project Neptune and the opportunity that this will give them to feed into the process. I ask the Transport Minister to listen to their suggestions. On structure, there are strong views about the split roles of Seamal and Calmac. Now, I need to be clear that this is about the structures and not about the great teams, as Stuart McMillan highlighted, the great teams of employees in both organisations. Another proposal has been to get us through the months until the new vessels are ready is hiring a freight boat. It's been suggested that this could be used across several routes, giving different islands benefit. Now, in the last 2 weeks, I've used Calmac services to the islands of Bute, Gia and Mull, and I'm pleased to say that all the ferries ran to schedule and I reached destinations on time. If I may, I would like to drop a few pebbles into the water, which I hope the Minister and her team will take account of. On Bute, some children use the ferry as though it's a school bus service. So with free bus travel for under-22s, could something similar be introduced to ferries? And pensioners have concerns about price rises across the network, exacerbated by the cost of living crisis. On both Bute and Gia, the ferry service is not bookable. Both islands want to keep it this way, but wonder if there's a way to prioritise bookings for locals making essential journeys, like hospital appointments or funerals that have been mentioned throughout this debate, so they can get off the island and return on the same day. I was on Mull at the weekend and this subject was raised by constituents there too. While over the last few months I've been having similar discussions with the Islay Ferry Group and Calmac, leading to meetings with Transport Scotland about an increase in commercial vehicles due to projected increase in whisky production and the impact that this has on the smaller or ad hoc freight carriers and, of course, other travellers. This gets to the nub of the problem. As with the current capacity constraints, there are different calls for space from residents wanting ease of travel, commercial vehicles serving businesses and also those whose businesses depend on tourists. I am pleased that the Minister has offered to look into this to see if changes can be made, and I'm told the Danish island of Samso has an island card which helps with a similar situation. I also attended a joint meeting of Call and Tyree ferry groups, which the Minister referenced. They have organised meetings with CMAL, CalMac and Transport Scotland, but feel as though they are hitting a bit of a wall. Their islands have suffered over this winter, going for periods without a ferry. The 3 storms in quick succession were the perfect storm, alongside the required maintenance schedule that my colleague Jackie Dunbar referenced. I quote from a recent email that I know the Minister has seen. The primary school on Call has run out of heating oil, and the impact on business in Tyree is now running at a rate of £1,450 lost for one guest house. I look forward to discussing these points further with the Minister. I know that the Scottish Government recognises that ferries are an essential part of Scotland's transport network, and the quality of our ferry services impacts on all of us. It's good news that the island's connectivity plan is being taken forward through the National Transport Strategy and the Strategic Transport Projects Review, which will also consider other potential options to connect our islands. Engagement and consultation on this will enable substantial public and community input. I know that my constituents are willing and are wanting to get involved, as this is their lifeline service. Finally, on a positive note, if I may, whenever I travel...
Not really, Ms Minto. You're now over time, I'm afraid. As briefly as possible.
I will do it very, very briefly. When I travel between my home on Islay and the Parliament, or any of my 23 islands, I am constantly impressed by the cheerful, hard work and helpful attitude of ferry crews and port staff. Thank you.